Angel Nieves is a former NYPD detective and says...
The late photographer, journalist Ardina Seward. Nice to see you, Ardina.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Your Pet Detective. I am Ardina Stewart. Probably sitting too low in her chair here. Gotta do a little adjustment. I need to get a little more pillow, shall we say. Okay, so I'm Ardina Stewart. That's former NYPD Detective Angel Nieves, who founded this show. And tonight, actually, we are all in New York City. When I say all of us, our guest name is Ella, and she runs a rescue mission called Blue Lives Pit Bull Rescue.
Bully
Rescue. Blue. It's a lot of B's in there. Blue Lives Billy. I can't even say. Blue
Say it 10 times quickly.
Lives Bully Rescue. So or BLBR. Make it to shorten it. This is it's a worthy 501c3. Because a lot of it is about pit bulls, and pit bulls get a bad name, particularly in urban areas, because they become the symbol of, thugs and toughness and stuff like that. And it just isn't true. It gives pit bulls a bad name, and we're gonna dissect all that tonight. But first, we want to go to some tape.
Well, actually, pit bulls are really nannies back in the 30s.
There you go.
Especially with the little rascals.
That's right, Petey.
Yeah.
All right, they are all too cute. I want to take all of them. I don't have a place big enough. but tonight we're going to talk about the much maligned pit bull. So where do we even begin? You rescue pit bulls that have been in fights, that have been seized by NYPD, New York Police Department, hence Blue Lives Bully Rescue. In other words, and correct me if I get my sequence wrong, but when there is an instance where cops have seized a pit bull, they call you to come and get that dog. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, how many, well, on the average, how many pit bulls do you rescue per week that have been involved in police issues?
Okay, well, typically when the police bring in a dog, or they rescue it from the streets, they're most likely strays found tied up in parks. A lot of them are malnourished, abused, scars from dog fighting. So I'll get the call, and we try to get there as soon as we can, given we have a foster available, because we're foster based. We don't believe in keeping the dog in a shelter. That's how pit bulls deteriorate, when they're not socialized, when they're kept in a kennel and bypassed by several people, walked once or twice a day. So we try to get them in a home setting. We evaluate them, assess them, see how they are with children, adults, other dogs, cats. And we rehabilitate them, because we don't know what they've been through. We can only imagine, but by the looks of it, it doesn't look like they've had a good life prior to us getting them. So we try to place them in the perfect home for them.
Pit bulls, I don't have to say, pit bulls are really much maligned, and they are associated with just being bad dogs. Is there something inherent in a pit bull's nature that makes that dog more aggressive, or is that dog trained to be aggressive?
Okay, any dog can be aggressive. In my 6, 7 years of rescuing pit bulls, the only dog that ever bit me was a Chihuahua. So any dog can be aggressive. So there's breeders, dog fighting. When they're born, puppies are born. I rescued several pregnant pitties, and I raised them up to 3, 4 months, and they're loving dogs. They're in homes with other pets, with children. They're family dogs. So back in the late 19th century, early 20th century, their nature was very protective, loving, gentle, nurturing. That's why they got the name nanny dog. Also, little rascals, Petey.
Yeah.
So if they are properly socialized and trained, they're just as an amazing dog as any other breed. So the breed stigma, like bad dogs, that's not, it's the owner. So the owner is the problem. It's not the owner is the issue.
When you go through adoptable dogs, there is an overwhelming number of dogs that are pit bulls. I'm on a mailing list of so many dog rescue missions, and every time I open the email, there are tons and tons of pit bulls. So the question is, why are there so many available pit bulls? Is it because the owners just dump them, or because the dogs have become aggressive, or because they have health problems?
Okay, so I would say it all comes down to the owner. You said you get several emails. There's emails. I need to rehome my dog. I'm moving. That's the number one excuse. I'm moving and I can't take my dog.
Yeah.
I would live in my car before I got rid of my pit bulls. So it's mostly the owner. They can't take care of them, or sometimes it becomes a money issue. The dog has health problems and they don't want to, address it. So it's not, I would say 9 out of 10 times, it is the owner that's just giving up the dog. Or they had the dog for breeding purposes, and now they bred the dog several times. The dog can no longer be bred. She started having miscarriages, and they can't make money off the dog. So they dump her at the local shelter.
How many dogs? Let me rephrase that. How often do you get dogs that have been saved from dog fight syndicates?
Okay, so unfortunately, in Queens, Jamaica, Queens is known for a lot of dog fights. And once they're done with the bait dog, they basically dump it in a park or just let it roam the streets. So we do get a lot of those dogs, and they are harder to rehabilitate because of what they've been through. But we do work with them. We get trainers if needed, and like I said, they're always in a home setting. So we basically have to just train them all over again, love them all over again. But believe it or not, they are so forgiving. So if of the pit bulls I rescued from bad situations, they come right up to you. You show them love. They trust you instantly. So if only people were like dogs, so forgiving and loving, the world would be a much better place.
What's the average age of when a bait dog is abandoned?
Young, unfortunately. I probably would say maybe we get dogs between the ages of 2 and 3. They're very young.
And I would assume, or I maybe I shouldn't assume, but when you get bait dogs, do the majority of them come in with injuries?
Yes, a lot of them are scratched up, open wounds. Some of them are even, literally you can see inside their skin. Sometimes there was one case where we actually were able to see their teeth from the outside because their mouth was torn apart. And this was just a stray we found in Baisley Park in Jamaica, in the confines of the 113 precinct. So, we got him right away, took him to the vet, and like I said, it takes a lot, and it's costly, but we rely on donations. We do what we can for them. Money is not our main thing. We take care of them, and then we worry about the cost after. As long as they're safe, and we can save them.
How hard are those? Well, you have a two-pronged problem, because one, you're getting a dog or dogs that have been mistreated. So that means they need veterinary care. And then two, you've got to adopt that dog out to someone who understands that dog's background and who will be sensitive to that dog's needs. So how hard is it to place those dogs?
It is harder to place the pit bull. I'm not gonna lie, it is hard. Only because we need to find a perfect fit for the dog, someone that is patient, someone that can understand what the dog has been through. And believe it or not, we have a lot of people who do want a dog that was mistreated. They want to be able to love that dog. They want to be able to have that dog trust the human race again. So we do. They are in foster for a while until they're ready to, be adopted. We host several meet and greets with the potential adopter to make sure it's a perfect fit. So yeah, we do have people that they do want to love a broken dog, and they want to gain that dog's trust.
So when someone, how does that work? Someone applies to your organization, or you post on Facebook that a dog is available. How do you get potential homes for these dogs?
Okay, so we depends how we always post from the beginning to end. So we post if we're going to pick up a dog, photos, the progress, vet photos. We post we're very like transparent. So once we, I would say a week or two, people start seeing the dog. When the dog becomes adoptable, we ask them to contact us if they'd like an application. It's a pretty detailed application, but we need to know where the dog is going. We ask for vet references. Do you own your home? Are you allowed to pit bull breed? Because unfortunately, a lot of landlords or building managers don't allow the pit bull breed. So we make sure that's not an issue. So we definitely go through the candidates and then host a meet and greet to see how they do. We let the potential adopter, foster the dog for a week, and after that, they basically more or less know whether it's a good fit and if they'll be adopting them. And for the most part, they end up being foster fails, which is a good thing. They end up adopting the pet.
Is there a monetary contribution, or they get the dog for free? How does that work?
Well, there is an adoption only because a dog, just a regular vet, costs anywhere from $300 to $500, depending on. And this is basic, just a basic exam with a rabies shot, blood work. So that's just, and then the spaying or neutering. We microchip them if they're not, just in case they were to get lost. So we go through the whole A to Z with the pet, and sometimes a pet can cost, on the low end, $800-900 if they need medicine or like long-term vet care, if they need an ultrasound or if the dog is pregnant. So it definitely costs a lot. So we do keep our adoption fee on the lower end. We don't want to deter anyone. We just want to find the perfect home for the pet. So like I said, I believe our adoption fee is lower than several others. So as long as we find the perfect fit and the perfect family, the donation will just help us pay the bills, but it's never going to fully pay $2,000 we spent on that dog. But that's not what we care about. We just want them placed in a great home.
So would it be correct to say that the average fee to adopt a dog from your group is roughly $500?
Okay, so it's $350, and like I said, we keep it on the lower end because we want these we want the dog. There's rescues that I know they're $600-750, but for that price, people might go to a breeder and get a puppy. So we want to attract people, to our rescue by keeping the fee low. And like I said, it's with a rescue, it's very hard to get donations, so we'll always be putting out more money than we're getting in. But my main thing is, where the dog is going. As long as the dog is having, a happy life, a spoiled life, that's the main goal, to put him in a great home.
What is the rate of return of a dog back to your group?
Okay, so I would say let's see, I wouldn't say it's high. I have 2 right now that are moving. One of them is going through, family issues. So I probably would say maybe at a very 6 months, maybe 1 or 2. So it's not very high because we find the perfect, like I go through these people and their whole background to make sure that the perfect fit. so the dog won't be returned. So I do my due diligence.
Angel, did you want to ask something?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Pit bulls.
Yes.
Many people get the pit bulls is not because I want a doggy, it's because I have an ego. Right? In other words, they come on, it says, I got a pit bull, I put some chain on his dog, I make it rough, he has to bite, he has to do this, and no one could be close to my dog, and they really think they go by the egos, and then they don't give enough walking the dog. Now he can't burn energy, and that's where the aggression comes in, right? The aggression comes in because of that reason.
So I would say it's more destruction. They start, with any dog, and specifically pit bulls. They need to, they need exercise. They need to run. They need to play. They need a daily activity. They need to be socialized as well. So if they're just home and someone takes them as a puppy, puts a chain on it and crops their ears, makes them look cool because they're not cool enough, and then after when the dog is a year or two and they no more, for it, the dog's home. That's why the dog starts, tearing at the furniture or possibly, getting aggressive if it's not getting enough attention. So there's a lot of things that factor into it. But like you said, people get them to be cool.
Yeah. And also the thing you said about the giving the dogs back. I mean, it's a lot of maybe good reason or a lot of BS. But the thing I know is this: a family member, a cousin of mine, he had two dogs.
Mm-hmm.
He had a pit bull baby, a blue nose, beautiful, and then he had his Roddy, which almost had no teeth. It was so old. And the insurance, some knuckleheads walking by looking to see dogs and count them as two dangerous dogs. They would try to knock out his insurance for the house because he has two dangerous dogs. So one dog doesn't have teeth. Oh,
Yeah.
but Roddy.
So the insurance, unfortunately, if you do tell them you have a pit bull breed, the insurance does go up. There's a few dogs that are on that list, though. It could be German Shepherd, a Rottweiler, Mastiffs, larger breed dogs. The insurance will go up. And like I said, a lot of co-ops, condominiums, a lot of landlords don't allow these specific breeds for that reason. But then again, like I said, you can have 150-pound Mastiff that is a huge baby and a Chihuahua that'll bite your hand off. So it's the owner. It's the owner how they're raised.
Well, also the owner that pampers him too much that the dog becomes an alpha.
Yes, that's also that could be a problem if the dog feels like it's now dominant over the owner. The dog will start taking control of the house or marking its territory, and then the dog won't listen to the owner. And that's another reason why sometimes they say, oh, return the dog, but we help them with training. So we offer to help them with training, whether we cover the cost or we can split the cost with the owner. They definitely do take us up on that. And I would say 8 times out of 10, it works and they do keep the dog. So there are, positives with getting a trainer to help you out.
Yeah.
I'd like to get into the dog fighting rings. I mean, that they've been in New York City for forever. And at one point, the cops had a pretty good hold on it. And everything, I wouldn't say that it was eradicated, but they were able to just stem the rise of dog fighting rings. You're in Queens, which is a pretty populated borough. Angel would know better than I because he worked Queens probably more than I did. But how prevalent is dog fighting where you are?
Well, I would say in Queens and in Brooklyn, it's the main area. Parts of Staten Island also, unfortunately, there's still fighting that does exist. We'll get anonymous calls or we'll get messages saying that, there's a dog fighting ring across the street and they're using bait dogs. And believe it or not, we had gone to a location in Brooklyn in the confines of the 7-5, and we found 3 dead pit bulls in a garbage bag on the side of a home. So it's really unfortunate. It's sad what goes on. They make these dogs fight. There's they breed them. There's a lot of illegal activities that go on. So it still is a problem, and we may not hear or see it as much, but it still does exist, sadly.
Are drugs used to? Are dogs given drugs to make them more aggressive in dog fighting?
Well, I would say some are given steroids to make them more aggressive, and some are given trazodone, which is more like, let's say, a human Xanax. It calms them down. So the bait dog would be given trazodone or some kind of tranquilizer. So it's just basically there. And it kind of just, puts the dog out, like as if we were to take a Xanax and kind of just zonk out. So it's sad what these people do. They're basically, like Angel said, they want to be cool, or they don't want to work and want to make money off the dog fighting, or they want to just get a female pup and breed her and sell a puppy for $800. There's perfectly healthy and puppies in the shelters, or we have them as well. So it's sad what humans are doing to the pit bull breed and the bad name they're giving the pit bull breed.
But also want to say is this too about the pit bulls that are used for fighting. These dogs are trained, but these dogs are aggressive against other dogs. They're not aggressive against people. Because if they do, if the dogs are fighting and they stop the fight, if they don't listen to it, the owners of that, they could also get killed. Because
Yeah.
they're supposed to be only dogs, not human.
Yes, so they train the dog basically, like I said, they'll get, if they're having, let's say, a dog fight on a certain day, they'll train their dog, prior to with bait dogs. A lot of people, they put their dogs on Craigslist. Oh, free dog, I'm getting rid of my dog. And what happens is, and this has been, this has been shared on the internet, breeders will send their girlfriends, their professional looking wives, to, oh, I want to adopt this dog. That dog then becomes the bait dog. So that's one thing I urge people not to do, is post your pets on Craigslist. You never know where the pet is going.
Now, if somebody has a pit bull, and then in good faith they need to surrender their dog, is it better to come to someone? Is it better to come to your organization, or to drop the dog off at a shelter? I mean, what would you offer the dog as opposed to a dog being in a shelter?
So in the shelter, the Manhattan Animal Care and Control one, they are killed. They do euthanize. And especially if you get a pit bull that's, even if the pit bull wasn't afraid and you put the pit bull in a kennel, he will become aggressive. He will, just like putting, a human in a cell. They're going to say, why am I here? So the dog becomes aggressive, they deteriorate. So what I would suggest is reaching out to my rescue, to any rescue. There's several great rescues that I can name. And, we do take in the dogs, and like I said, I'm foster based. I don't have a facility. So we can try to get the dog a foster. I mean, if you're coming to me and saying I need to dump the dog right now, that may be hard for me to find a foster in an hour. But if you give me ample time, give me a few days, I usually send the owner like a little surrender form, just with some basic info I'd like on the pet. Is the pet friendly? Do they get along with other dogs, children? How is he in the home? Is he house trained? So I try to get as much information from the owner about the pet, so I can find the perfect foster home for the pet while we find them a forever home.
The very first day that a foster mom or foster dad, foster family has a pit bull, what's the first thing that happens that they receive that dog?
Okay, so there would also be an application to fill out just to make sure, everything is good. We do a home check. We'd bring the dog over to them. We prefer, well, if the dog is not friendly in the beginning, maybe because he's scared or what he's been through, obviously he'd be going to a dog-only home. So we ask that the fosters are patient with the dog. Let the dog come to you. Don't overwhelm the dog. Don't go to the dog, because he might be afraid and he might react a certain way. So we kind of just let the foster know, give him the space. He'll come to you. Let him know you're the one feeding him. You're the one giving him food and water, and you're taking care of him. Go on long walks so you and him can bond. So that's what we let the foster know. Some of our fosters are amazing. They're even willing to like sleep on the couch while the dog sleeps on the floor, so they can get that bonding experience. So our fosters are pretty amazing. In helping the pit bulls as well.
But what keeps a foster from fully bonding with the dog? In other words, you bring this dog to a foster, and at some point the foster would get attached to the dog would get attached to the person. It must be very difficult when somebody comes along and they say, okay, we're going to adopt this dog. And how does the dog and how does the foster person adjust to the fact that the dog is being removed from their house and the dog has to adjust to yet another new environment?
Another So the fosters are given the option. It's foster to adopt. So we always give the foster family an option to adopt the dog. So at any point, if they feel, okay, we fell in love, we bonded, this is a great fit for our family, they do have the option to adopt the dog. Some people just want to foster until a home is found and they want to keep fostering because it saves lives. Because if we have a foster available, and now that dog is adopted out, this foster can take in another dog that's potentially on death row or potentially could have been brought to the shelter and euthanized. So some people just prefer to foster until a home is found, but we do have many cases where, like you said, they fall in love, they bond, and they end up keeping the dog, which is ideally what we'd like for all of the dogs.
What percentage of people who foster pit bulls end up keeping them and become permanent?
Okay, say out of 10, maybe 7.
Wow.
Yeah, I would say, and like I said, I speak from my own rescue, from my own experience. I would say out of 10, 7 are foster fails, where the foster fell in love, and usually it happens within a week. They're like, "Oh, Ella, we fell in love, we bonded, and it works out. They adopt him."
That's interesting because one would think that it would take longer for a pet a foster or a pet owner to understand the dog's nature. But I think what you're saying is that basically within a week's time after you have this dog, the dog lets you know who he or she is.
Well, it does take longer than that. Some people just, take chances. Like, oh, this dog is great. This dog is, he's fitting in with the family. We're going to take a chance on him. And that's all it takes is for, that's all it takes for a pit bull to find a great home, a family that's willing to be patient, because ultimately you're going to have to train this dog. So it takes a patient family and an understanding family to adopt a pit bull.
All right. Well,
the best thing to do is get a dog, an animal, a pet that is suitable to your lifestyle and to your family.
Yes.
My next door neighbor has a pit bull. The pit bull is a sato. Sato means a dog from the streets in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this dog. Okay. It's like if it's my own dog. That's how I feel about it. And it's my next door neighbor. And my next door neighbor, she runs marathons.
Oh, wow.
So she takes the dog and she has to wait for the dog because the dog gets tired.
Yeah.
But she runs.
Wow.
That's the only kind of owner you need for a kind of energetic dog.
Yes.
Not only a pit bull, you could probably get a terrier the same way. You have to. The dog has to, and they
adapt to your lifestyle.
Yeah, and then the dog doesn't become the alpha; she's the alpha.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you right now, if you walk towards this dog, first thing the dog does, throw stuff on the floor for a belly rub. That's the only thing she does.
Wow.
And a lot of the pit bulls that we take in, believe it or not. So I rescued mine. She was a foster fail with myself. She was on someone's front lawn for 12 hours. And this was in Jamaica about 2 years ago. And the woman kept throwing buckets of hot water on her to get rid of her because she was afraid. So I got out of work and went there. They called me after the dog was there 12 hours. Because the cops didn't show. And so I went, and the dog was just laying down. I approached her slowly. I gave her some treats. She followed me across the street, and she's actually in one of the videos I have posted on my page. I took her home, and we bonded, and now I've had her for almost 2 years, and she was a throwaway mama, I call it. They bred her and they basically dumped her. And she's the sweetest dog. She's very motherly and nurturing because I foster a lot of little dogs as well, and she's the mom to all the dogs. So yeah, she's amazing. She's good with people, good with pets, and she was basically a dump's pity. And within 5 days that I had her, I knew that she wasn't going anywhere.
Wow.
Now, I want you to tell us the story of you in the cemetery.
That was a funny story. So I
Halloween.
up the block from Cypress Hills Cemetery, and I got a call saying that there was a little black dog in there. So we started off rescuing pit bulls, but we rescue every breed now. So I got a call saying there was a little dog in the cemetery. It was after hours, and the cemetery was closed. I saw the dog in there. I said, I have to get in there. So, I mean, I'm small. I'm not that small. I tried to get underneath the fence. I was going to, like, impale myself. So I tried to get over. I said, this is not going to work. I called 911 for help. So they said to me, lady, we can't get you in the cemetery. You'll be trespassing, and we can't help you jump over the fence either, because if you get hurt, we're in trouble. But what we'll do is we'll put they had like an RV. They put it close enough to the fence. I was able to climb the fence, fall over, hurt myself. But yeah, so I was in the cemetery that whole night looking for this dog, pitch dark. It was very interesting and scary. So I was in that cemetery for about 3 or 4 days, and with the help of a trapper, we eventually set a trap. We caught the dog, but I felt really bad. I was stepping on tombstones, and I kind of felt like I knew everyone in the cemetery. But 4 days later, we were successful in rescuing the little dog. So yeah.
Nobody, you didn't hear no voices, so you were there.
I probably started to on day 3, but I was like, all right, we need to get this dog out of here.
Now, I have a little video here. I'm going to do it quickly of a dog on the roof.
Hi, pretty girl. Okay, so we got to the location. The dog has an owner, and this is her home. And she.
So what's the story in that dog?
Okay, so that dog, I got 3 calls, 3 consecutive days. This dog was basically rummaging through trash on the side of a home. I got video and photos. The dog, there was no one in sight. So finally on day 3, I was like, okay, this dog has no owner. This was in Brooklyn. I was like, let me go check it out. So I get there, see the dog by the garbage. I go to pull over with my Jeep, and the dog is gone. So I'm looking, and then I hear something. I look up, and the dog is on the roof. So now I don't know how the dog got there in that short amount of time. So I'm ringing the bells, and apparently the owner to this dog, there's a ramp. I don't know why they put a ramp to the roof. The dog is the guard dog. And if the dog sees anyone below, the dog barks, which is not true because I was right there and the dog didn't bark. So an owner came out and said, that's our guard dog. She, comes up and down the ramp as she likes. We don't feed her. She rummages through the garbage, but she's our guard dog. So unfortunately, the dog is not nourished. The dog is not abused. I did call the police department. They could not do anything for this dog. But that is a dangerous situation for a dog to be on a roof like that. So we've seen it all. It's really sad how they treat these dogs and what they do.
Well, you're doing wonderful, wonderful work, and we're getting to the end of the show.
Yes.
Before we go, before we go, it's Halloween around the corner.
Yes, it is.
In a couple of days. What do people have to do with the pets on Halloween? But they don't get lost, or they don't get intoxicated, or they don't get, it's a lot of things going on with marijuana, with chocolate. I mean, what do people have to do for the dogs?
Okay, well, chocolate is deadly to a dog. Any kind of candy. I worked in an animal hospital, and we have dogs that ate a whole bag of candy. And so I would say definitely around the holidays. I mean, dogs can get spooked with noises, with monsters, costumes. Always keep a tag, a collar with a name tag and a phone number on your dog. We do offer, our Rescue Blue Lives Really Rescue offers free microchipping. So if you have a dog and you can't afford a microchip, You can call us, email us. We will microchip the dog for you for free. So that prevents the dog. If it is lost, we can just scan the chip and return the dog back to you. So that's one thing that I urge people. It costs you nothing. Just meet us at the clinic, or we'll send you to the clinic. Call us, we'll pay the bill. So we offer free microchipping. So I would say definitely around the holidays, try to keep your pet inside. If you have small children, try to keep their candy where a high surface, high table, because a dog will get into the candy, and that could be fatal.
Also, what happens if they do get sick?
Okay, there's emergency hospitals. There's an animal control poison hotline you can call. I don't have the number offhand. I apologize. You can Google that, have that, on hand. There's emergency hospitals that are 24 hours. Blue Pearl is one of the hospitals in Queens. They're 24 hours if your pet happens to, ingest any kind of candy or chocolate. There's hospitals out on the island as well. So you can just Google nearest 24-hour hospital and get the pet there as soon as you can.
Also, want to add to that is, please, people, any potato chip bags or whatever, keep it away. Put it all the way high, because if the dogs go in there, they will suffocate and they will die.
Yes.
A lot of things to be cautious about. So with that, we are going to end the show. Thank you, Ella, so much for being on the show.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
But
You're doing wonderful work. And if anybody wants a dog, they should really, really consider your organization. And if they want to make a donation, that's even better.
Yes, we're always accepting donations because it's very hard to keep up with all the bills.
All right. And
where do people go for the Blue Lights donations?
Well,
reach out to you.
We're on Blue Lives Bully Rescue on Facebook, on Instagram. We have PayPal, Venmo, and it's Blue Lives Bully Rescue. And they can visit our Instagram and Facebook, and we have links on there as well.
And if they want, one other important thing before we close, and if you have a pit bull that you want to surrender, don't put the dog out in the park. Don't just turn the dog loose and let the dog run around the street. Won't be fed, could be hit by a car. Call Ella's organization. You can even do it anonymously. You don't have to give your name. Just do the right thing by your dog.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I thank you.
All right. So
please, people, spay and neuter your dogs.
Yes.
Do you know where your pets are?